Ladies and gentlemen, this isn't a game or a joke, as General Stubblebine was just saying. Okay, we've got General Stubblebine and his wife. Dr. Rima Laibow, you've got the floor here. Continue breaking down then, because you got interrupted by some breaks. Start over, break down the intelligence we have on these vaccines, what we know. I mean, it's just like Gardasil admittedly is killing a whole bunch of women and girls, having weird autoimmune diseases with the others. We're like almost like Ebola, where blood's coming out of all these orifices. It's paralyzing people, and it's like they're testing soft kills, testing the media's response, testing the public. I don't know what you'd call that, General, in a military fashion, but just like before they invaded Panama, they would have the helicopters land and do drills for 6 months to where they were acclimated. So they just acclimate us now to the ambient, soft kill, silent weapons, quiet wars. Let's get the General's take on that, and then the doctor breaking down what she sees happening here, how we get Congress to say no and to like override the executive order, because they've now engaged level 6. The question is, will they implement? So General, what do you call this soft kill system where they're increasing the deadliness of the vaccines, openly killing us, death to the left, death to the right, and everyone just marching in, injecting their children?
Well, I'm not sure that I know the military terminology for this kind of soft kill, but it's like guerrilla warfare because it's kind of behind the scenes. It's hidden. You know, if you're doing guerrilla warfare, you cannot go out into the middle of the street and with your gun. You do it from an ambush position. So it's always hidden. Well, there's not any difference between what is happening now and guerrilla warfare against our population. That's exactly what's happening, Alex. And go ahead.
No, you can just see them rolling out the total psyop for a non-event flu, and then now saying we're all basically dead in the fall, take the shot, with their history of radiating foster children, black men and syphilis, Project Shad. How would anyone in their right mind take anything they try to give us?
They're not in their right mind, Alex.
They've been propagandized.
They've been propagandized. They've been fluoridated. They've been controlled. What percentage of the American population is on psychoactive medication and
20%.
Electroshock therapy? It's horrendously high, and that means that people can be controlled. That's part of the soft kill, and it's been going on for a long, long time. I want to remind people that the very first vaccine, Edward Jenner's vaccine for smallpox, was literally a vaccine for syphilis because it spread syphilis. And by the mid-19th century, the British Parliament, which had made mandatory vaccination a law for every citizen and every resident of the British Empire, discovered that they had created a syphilis epidemic. So they did an investigation. They held an inquiry, and they discovered that they had two choices. Choice one, admit it. They would have egg all over their faces and take responsibility for the fact that they had killed and maimed and sentenced to death millions of people through this hastily entered into scientific fraud, which is what vaccination is, or do a cover-up. They did a cover-up, of course. They chose a cover-up, and they doubled Edward Jenner's lifelong stipend from £10,000, I think this was about 1853, to £20,000, saying, oh, there's nothing wrong here. Look, we've done the right thing through self-deceit, fraud, and
But wasn't that just a Malthusian first round of eugenics through Mr. Galton?
No, I believe that, in fact, this was a colossal, stupendous stupidity on the part of the British Parliament, and that they chose to save their own egos and careers rather than back down from the position they had.
Well, look at the
climbed
76
onto.
swine flu. This always breaks out, the 1918, the 1976. It's always breaking out at military bases.
Oddly enough, where our soldiers are our guinea pigs.
Guess who gets to hold up their arm and unclothe their arm and stand there and stick it out so that somebody will stick a needle in it, and they have no choice.
Same with vaccine A. And I want to point out that the same information that Gary Matsumoto so beautifully brought forward in his vaccine A, and the subtitle of that book was Why the United States is experimenting on the military and why they won't be the last, he talked about squalene adjuvants. He talked about introducing oils that irritate the immune system so they make more antibodies. That means the expensive part of the vaccine, the antigen, can be in much smaller proportions, so it's more profitable for the company. And then you make more antigens. That means that you have a higher antigen titer in your body. But
so it's that accelerant that triggers the autoimmune response that you're saying. Well, the other medical doctors we've had on have said that's the thing that causing a lot of the autism, not even the mercury, is that it causes that brain swelling that then causes brain damage.
Correctly, but there's another part to this. No one, and I say this as a scientist and as a physician, no one has ever proven in any clinical trial whatsoever that high titer, that high level of antibodies is related in any way with immunity to the disease. Ever. So this whole thing is pointless, you understand?
It's quackery. But
quackery.
Okay, doctor and general, from a military perspective, intelligence perspective, and from a medical doctor perspective, you've got all these deaths all over Europe and Asia in swine flu and bird flu trials. High death rates where they inject 100 people and a whole bunch of them drop dead. And we've been putting mainstream news articles on screen. And then the media is very quiet. The government even indicts people who gave the shots, saying they were paid by pharmaceutical companies, but then we can't ever find who they are. And then we've got Baxter involved in the new vaccine. They're involved in, I mean, what does this look like to you? And then how are you coming out and saying, look out with this next flu shot that's coming out?
It looks.
Let me answer that first.
Okay, General.
I'll tell you what. It looks like an ambush. You know, if you're in a city or a town and you're going door to door in fighting, you never know where the ambush is going to come from. Is it going to come from a roof, from a window, from a door, from behind a door? You don't know. And this whole thing, Alex, to me, looks exactly like that door-to-door fighting in towns called ambush. Ambush. That's what it is.
But this time the ambush is by our own forces against our own people.
Well, we can see that the whole thing's engineered. We can see it's all hype and the vaccine's deadly and they admit won't even protect you from it. And normally flus mutate into something less harmful or harmless. How are they saying 100% it's going to mutate deadly in the fall? Now, we're not saying that's going to happen. They're saying it. I mean, for anybody with a scientific background, doctor, in general, it's 101 that they can't say they know it's going to be deadly. That clearly is a lie. So it means that they know something we don't know. Are they going to release something else?
It's a lie unless they know something that has never been told to the public.
Well, now I want to avoid giving these idiots too much credit. SARS fizzled. Avian flu fizzled. The pandemic swine flu fizzled. They may or may not be able to get the next generation of this virus, this genetically engineered virus, to do what they want, which is kill lots of us. But it doesn't matter because they've got the vaccine, which is much more direct, much more effective. Now, listen up, folks.
Which is the ambush.
Which is the ambush. If a single person, and by the way, let me reiterate, I was starting to read this before, the first target is children from kindergarten to 12th grade. The second target is pregnant women. The third target is adults between 45 and 65. That's the most productive segment of the workforce. These are the people who are going to receive the vaccines, and there are many of them.
Yeah, just to back you up, we're putting it on screen, Doctor. She's not just saying this. The news is announced. Children first, then the elderly, then the sick. These are the most vulnerable, and they admit.
But the second group is pregnant women. Now, I want to just add one more thing, Alex, because there's so much to say, and time is so short.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
If Gardasil does what I believe Gardasil does, and Cervavax, which is the British equivalent of Gardasil, which is about to be also approved in the United States shortly. If these two vaccines do what I believe, which is render girls infertile, there's no reason to believe, there's no reason to believe that this new vaccine, for which Baxter applied for the patent in 2007, by the way, so this surprise rush to get things on the street, so to speak, is total hype and nonsense, because they've been preparing this since 2007. If it does the same thing, and it contains one of the same ingredients, Tween, Tween 80, which is very similar to polysorbate 80, and both of them injected cause infertility, then what we have is not only death, but an end of whatever race you happen to belong to,
well, let me stop
you.
Group.